Right, get it all. So we are back again with back to the Quran, right? And we are going through this book again, right? To point out references. So to point out references with regard to taking accountability for our actions, right? So I would have done an entire series going through the book talking about monotheism, right? Need to understand that there's only one God, right? There's only one unseen God, right? Approaching God from a monotheistic standpoint. We did an entire series prior to that, right? And I just needed to close off a cycle of something before I could proceed, right? So now we would go on to picking out verses from the Quran that point to taking accountability for our actions, right? So this is Surah 1, right? And Surah 1 is essentially the prayer, the opening prayer, right? In Islam, the opening prayer, which you would say if you're going to a Muslim school, right? If you're participating in any function or if you're doing your normal prayer at home, right? The opening prayer, right? In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. So this first line is what? This first line is acknowledging Allah one as the name of God, right? Acknowledging Allah as the name of God or the highest name of God. Secondly, right, it is acknowledging Allah as being merciful, right? Merciful unto you, me, and others in the world, right? Entirely merciful and especially merciful, right? Rahman and Rahim, right? The book describes two words, right? Two words with regard to Allah's mercy that describes Allah's mercy, right? All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. So the second line of this prayer is about praising Allah, right? One is what? Recognizing Allah as the most merciful. The second is praising Allah, right? Third, it is about acknowledging Allah as the Lord of worlds, meaning the upper, lower, middle regions, the Lord of worlds, right? All worlds, right? Whether we are referring to hellish worlds, heavenly worlds, earthly worlds, right? The Lord of worlds, the unseen world, right? Or worlds out there, right? The third line of the prayer, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, again, acknowledging Allah's mercy. 4. Sovereign of the day of recompense. This has to do with what? Justice, right? Justice. Compensation for everything, right? In this lifetime, one is to receive, all on earth is to receive compensation for the collective entire of life's history, right? For actions, misdeeds, and deeds, right? Sovereign of the day of recompense, meaning justice, right? Accountability, taking accountability, individual and collective responsibility for our actions, right? It is you who we worship and you who we ask for help, right? So this is about worship now, right? Praise, and just like in line 2 talks about all praises due to Allah, right? You're talking about worshiping Allah and asking Allah for help sufficient is Allah. The book makes this point, right? Guide us onto the straight path, right? So line 6 talks about asking for guidance, right? Knowing that, hey, I don't know everything, you don't know everything, right? So it's asking Allah for guidance because we need guidance in life, right? Many of us feel lost, right? Many of us are thrown into a trial period and we feel lost, right? So this prayer is powerful because it's asking for guidance, asking Allah for guidance, right? Guide us into the straight path, the path upon whom you have bestowed your favor, not those who have earned your anger, nor of those who are strict, right? So this is the opening prayer, right? And the prayer talks about one, mercy and justice, right? Mercy and justice. If you've been looking at my videos from earlier on, I did a few videos on this already, right? How I tied in justice and mercy, right? And how anything could happen and Allah could in an instant, in a flash, something could be about to happen seriously bad to you, right? And Allah could just intervene in an instant, right? And say, hey, no, I choose you to survive this incident. I choose you to survive this incident, right? Because you have something greater on earth to do, right? So the book talks about one, and that is in fact could be or is probably a result of some past good deeds that you have done, right? that you may not have even taken into account. Hey, I was doing XYZ good. You was probably just acting out of your own being yourself. And hey, Allah just snatch you out of this incident and say, no, I choose to help you to survive this incident because of all these whatever you have done in the past, that I took into account all those good deeds that you've done, right? And give you another chance to live, right? So this is what this the book actually open, and this opening prayer is about both mercy and justice, right? And that's what the Quran is essentially about, mercy and justice, right? So that's what that is about. Tomorrow we will go into Surah 2, right? And get the verses, pick the verses out from Surah 2 that talks about this, as well as we continue to um, uh, get meaning, purpose, and an understanding, a deeper understanding of life, right? From what I consider one of the deepest book, or in fact the deepest book on the planet, right? Something I didn't think I would have say, right? But I didn't have the opportunity to read this book prior to a couple of years ago, right? So I actually consider the Quran like one of, if not the deepest, right? Deepest book, spiritual books on the planet, healing book and a curing book, right? So uh painfully painfully so, but so nevertheless, right? Anyhow, so we will go on to Surah 2 with regard to this conversation on accountability, which is what? Facing ourselves, right? Looking ourselves into the spiritual mirror, right? So that we can change our actions to benefit the world and benefit ourselves and everything around us, right? Environment and like, right? So have a good day, everybody.